Hello, beautiful souls. It's Rebecca from Manifestation Mama here, and today I'm actually going to be talking about shifting timelines. The reason I'm going to be sharing this information is because last week I went through what felt like an identity crisis, and I know I'm not the only one. My beautiful clients, my incredible friends have been calling me, asking me for advice about particular experiences that they're going through. So I know this is a collective thing that's happening now for a lot of people. And what does it even mean to shift a timeline? Basically, we have an infinite number of possibilities the way that our life can turn out. We do have our destiny, we do have free will, that all plays into it, but it is your moment-to-moment choices that create the future version of yourself. And it is those choices, obviously it's our previous choices that made this current moment possible, and it's your behaviors, your actions, and your thoughts that will either keep you on a particular timeline, or when you start to change this, that is when you start to shift timelines. Okay, there are a lot of things that actually go on with this. One thing that tends to happen is you can actually go through ascension symptoms, which is very similar to the body detoxing. So if you have had nausea, I have been waking up like every day feeling hungover, even though I go to bed at like 10 o'clock at the latest, with a cup of tea. It literally, I woke up and it felt like I'd smashed 3 bottles of champagne. If you feel like you have been going to the gym and you haven't even been working out, so you get like a lot of muscle pain, stomach aches, you can have diarrhea, insomnia. All of a sudden my jeans aren't really fitting me the way that they used to, so you can either put on weight or you lose weight. These are all signs of ascension. If you are going to the doctor and they're scratching their head and there's nothing that they can kind of pinpoint, if you feel more emotional than normal, because what tends to happen is when you go into a new frequency and vibration, there are things that we have been carrying around, emotional baggage in our cells, that can't make the transition. So they have to actually leave the physical, ethereal bodies, astral bodies, before we transition. I hope that makes sense. When it comes to things going on kind of mentally, you can kind of be at a place where there's a lot of inner conflict. The entire week, nothing in my wardrobe has resonated with what I want to wear, how I want to feel. Everything has been really irritating for me or annoying me, like things that normally wouldn't irritate me. And it's because, my body's shifting and changing, and it's very, 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 very sensitive. So that's kind of one of the things. Another thing is, and I don't have this as much anymore, but when I started kind of, on this spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden, like particular conversations weren't that interesting to me anymore. Activities that I used to like get a lot of joy out of weren't really lighting me up, and I had to like start to question myself. I was like, is this normal? Why am I feeling this way? But it was just kind of a natural transition that was happening. You will start to get like these whispers of things that are no longer good for you. So for me, it was definitely alcohol. Every now and then I'll have a glass of champagne, but that was such a big part of my life. And then all of a sudden, like I couldn't even touch alcohol. Like it was just gross to me. And I actually went through a long phase where I didn't drink any alcohol. Being around like really negative people, I just couldn't do it anymore. Before, I'd be full throttle with my ego in my victim phase and wanting to kind of fit in, but all of a sudden I just wasn't available for it. And you can kind of feel like a little bit of an outcast, I guess. So you'll start to get these whispers of things that aren't really serving you anymore, but you'll start to get this intuitive guidance of things that are going to be really powerful for you. So if you get this niggling to start a podcast, if you have the feeling to complete the renovation on your home, if you have the feeling to reach out to someone, this is all guidance from the the universe. And the more that you take the guidance or you listen to the whispers, it will actually strengthen your intuition. And when you are following your intuition, the feedback of this will be synchronicities and miracles. So basically, we should be having synchronicities and miracles every single day of the week, because it is always a sign from the universe that you are living in alignment, you are living your divine design or your highest purpose. And if life feels hard, if you feel like you're struggling, if nothing's working out, then that's feedback that you are, maybe you just need to change a few things so that you get back onto your path. Here's where that can be a little bit confusing. So when you start to listen to these whispers and you follow the intuitive guidance, sometimes everything can go to shit. Sometimes chaos can just happen in the craziest way, because we're going through a renovation process. It's like the timeline that you were on is the old house that you've been living in. So imagine if you moved into your grandma's house and you didn't change anything, you still had all of her old furniture, all of the old photos, the 3 ducks on the wall. And now you're deciding, I want to live in a house that is more aligned with, a kitchen with an island, more modern, let's get rid of the florals. And so as you start to decide, and generally we decide to be more conscious, or we decide to stop insulting our souls. When we make this decision, then the process has to begin. So everything that is not in alignment with where you're going, everything that, will not keep up with the vibration and frequency will go. That's why sometimes all of a sudden we get fired, we get dumped, or we dump somebody. Maybe you have to move out of your apartment. That's when crazy things can happen. Here's the thing. That is the time to surrender. That is the time to surrender and know that that is all happening for you, so you can move into your dream house or shift realities, however you want to call it. What else do we need to chat about? Okay, so I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I was actually shown this a little bit differently. It was like I was looking at a building and I was looking at my past, where I kind of came from. I was looking at my current reality, and then I was seeing the top floor, and on the top floor it was all of the things that I would love to do in my life. So I'm currently writing a book. I would love to have my book finished. I would love to do more workshops around the world. Public speaking is one of my biggest fears, so that's something I'm working on overcoming. I'm just, I'm doing it in a very uncomfortable way right now. I want to be at a place where I'm very comfortable with that. So these are the things that are on the top tier: traveling more, fully renovating my apartment. So they were on the top floor. So imagine that's the 10th floor. Then I could kind of see everything on this floor that I was a vibrational match for. And in order to go to the next level, it's like I have to leave. One of them is coffee. Sugar is a big one. Some limiting beliefs. I could see it really clearly what it was that I actually had to let go of in order to go up to the next level. And then what was the coolest thing was I could see all of the things on the first floor that I was totally available for back in my 20s and early 30s. That I was so far away from. And think of some of those things, oh my God, I was so available for bad behavior. I was so available to put everybody else's needs before my own. I was so available to work in a fucking job that I hated. I was so available for I don't know, just to, oh my God, there's so many things I don't even know where to start. But you can actually do this visualization yourself. So you can ask Spirit to show you show me which floor I'm on now, and show me if I was to elevate or to shift timelines, what are all the things that I would have to leave there. So it's definitely behaviors, thoughts, feelings, emotions, and the shitty stories that we tell ourselves, and the old identities that we're holding on to. This is a big one. Especially the identity of I'm not worthy of having it. So when you make that decision, that's when you start to shift. And remember, it can actually be like really like a detox process. That's why it's uncomfortable. I mean, they call it death and rebirth, and there's a reason they call it that, because you will, depending on like where you're at, but if it's your first round, you will probably freak the fuck out. If you've gone through it a couple of times, you know, you kind of know the process and you're more familiar with it. Is there anything that I missed? I did actually write notes on this today because I wanted to make sure that I got everything in. Oh, this is a really good point. This is what I'm going to leave you on. If you treat every single moment like you chose it, this is you taking your power back. And I know actually somebody wrote to me, I wrote about endometriosis, and the comment was, you are blaming women for their suffering. And it kind of was interesting to see it from that perspective, and I've been there, so I kind of have been on both sides of the coin. But when you're ready to take responsibility, to know that you created this moment with your previous thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, that is when you can upgrade into the next moment. I literally had to do my tax this weekend, and I do not know why, but I was acting like a complete child, and I was like, this is so unfair that I have to sit on the weekend and do my tax. And I was full in my victim mode. I even think I cried about it. And then I was like, okay, you have a choice now. So you can continue in your victim mode, but your tax is not going to get done. Or you can just like put on your big girl panties and take responsibility. Here's the thing. I literally sat down and I started to do it, and it felt so empowering to like have an overview of what's going on in my business, what's going on in my life. And it was so funny how much I kicked up a stink and how much I was in my victim phase before I actually like got around to doing it. So I could have saved myself a lot of time. I was even saying things like, you know, I'm in another country and they're talking another language and I can't understand what they're telling me. And, you know, there's all this confusion thing around the tax and the Mehrwertsteuer and the Umsatzsteuer, whatever it is. So it's a very confusing, complicated thing. And then I was like, okay, I have to draw a line in the sand. I'm going into my next reality, and that's the end of it. All right. Happy timeline shifting, beautiful souls.